Welcome to your Family Health Revolution conversation series with Carla Atherton and friends, where our HFF family comes together not to tell you what you should do, but what you can do. Take charge of your health. You can do this. In fact, you're the only person who can. This is Carla Atherton, Director of the Healthy Family Formula and host and producer of the Children's Health Summit. And I am here with a new series called Your Family Health Revolution with Friends. And so I've been kind of joking around that I keep introducing everybody like a romper room episode with like, and my friend today is Lisa Lash. But she's my friend. She's more than my friend. She's a soul sister, and you're going to soon find out why. And today, she and I are talking about healthy mama, healthy baby, healthy child, and all that we want to share with you about that. And this might be one of the things that you watch that you come away from going, holy Hannah, I never thought of it that way. That's what we hope to give you today. And so let's get into it. So, first, I'm going to introduce Lisa with this short and sweet, but very precise and I don't know if the word is precise, but it is the bio that is truly Lisa, and then I'm going to introduce or invite her to join our conversation. So Lisa Lash is a soul light shining. As a lighthouse and wisdom keeper, she shines the light through the womb for souls to be guided through their light reflection. Now, isn't that a bio? And I want her to explain a little bit about that in just a second. But again, I want to return to that idea that we are talking about healthy mama, healthy baby, healthy child, and how all that is intertwined. And one other thing I want to say about Lisa before I invite her to explain what that bio actually means is that she has been part of the HFF for quite some time, and she was one of the earlier versions of the program for the health empowerment coach training. And before I even called it health empowerment the coach training, it was more like holistic family health coach training, and that was just way too boring for us. So so we've evolved, and Lisa's been part and parcel to that evolution. She's been witness to, participant of, co-creator, and support person throughout the whole thing. So I mean, from the bottom of my heart, I'm so excited that you're here with me to discuss this very important, integral topic, and that you are here to shine your light with me, so that we can move through all these topics together and encourage and inspire mamas to be moms that already, parents that are already parenting, and or others that are just wanting to learn something more expanded about that whole experience. Okay, so you don't actually have to explain that. I'm not even going to actually ask you to explain what you mean in that bio. I want people to intuit that. They're going to feel it through this conversation. The first thing I want to do is start off with a question for you, Lisa. And I want you to give me, and I don't want to always start with the negative, but I do want to start with the situation usually whenever we discuss something. So, what do you see happening in like our the whole concept of motherhood, how moms are taught to be moms, like what's going on in our culture and our society right now in relation to motherhood, mothering, birth, childbirth, all that kind of stuff. It's a huge question, but I want to just where are you going to go with that?
Well, from what I've noticed, I'm always very aware of what goes on, and I feel a lot in the energies and
Hmm.
always observe what that might be telling us. And I get there's a mix going on, Carla. It's a little bit of what was done by your grandmother, your mother, and maybe your peers or siblings, as well as a new questioning of, I'm not totally sure in listening to their experiences
Right.
and observing my own way that possibly there could be something else. Or maybe there's something within me, like a little voice nudging and saying, hmm, maybe we could do something a little different. And perhaps to give an example of that may be someone's birth experience or someone's prenatal experience or even stories they may have picked up from, say, listening to grandmothers or aunties or things of that nature, and then realizing, like, way back, women
Mm,
have really not been seen and heard in their
mhm,
own empowerment, own choices,
mhm,
and own wishes to be carried forth no matter what. The only
mhm,
thing barring would be a medical emergency to save a life.
mhm,
Otherwise, our own wishes should be heard and followed through and no questions asked. And we're now learning that there are many ways in which we can not only hold each other, and as well as that, to avail those who may be wanting to investigate that there
mhm.
are other ways and they don't have to follow what was handed down or what a medical person that they may be in their suggestive way.
Right.
Ultimate care is in our own hands.
Yeah.
And the awareness of that is where I feel is a big beginning, Carla, because a lot of people, men and women, are not aware that they have a voice and have a choice.
Hmm. And I want to, if I may, I'd like to take that a little further. So, um, you said the new way. It's like, I know you do think exactly this, but it's the old way. It's like before medicalization, because medicalization, what I mean by that is seeing sort of everything that goes on in the body or the mind or the spirit, all that stuff, having a medical cure, or needing a medical cure. Like, so when we medicalize our health or childbirth experience, we're kind of falling down that misnomer that every time it's an emergency. It's something that we need someone else to take over. Like the doctor delivers the baby. It's like taking away all that, not taking away, but it distracts away from the actual, like the mom is the one that births the baby. And the medical system is there as a support if there is an emergency. So, and then when you said, like, the stuff that's passed down, I think what you mean too is passed down from the medical model. But what we want to
Mhm.
return to is what's passed down through our maternal lineage, our paternal lineage, our traditions, and our bodies knowing, our inner intuition about how to do this, because we've been birthing and parenting since the beginning of our species. Like, this is not something that we have to learn how to do over the last 50 years from a system, right? So I think that, moving out of that system will allow us to, and you and I talk about this a lot, remember that, remembering that whole, the knowing, and being and going more into the intuitive mode rather than panic, fear, confusion, lack of confidence, right? We want mamas to feel, or mamas to be, feel, and papa, like fathers, of course, also, to feel confident in this experience, and then have a, a, a more enriching experience because of it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally know that. And as I'm listening to your words, I can feel my heart pounding from the regard of our innate wisdom is
Yeah.
within.
Yeah.
And I can give a great example of that. Like when you first bring home your new little beautiful born soul and you doubt that everything that you thought you knew, you're like, oh my God, I don't know squat one about what I'm doing. You do.
Yeah.
You do.
You do.
And it's been given to you from all of the wisdom of all of the generations that you've been part of or observed, or an extended family of any kind that you call family, and it's all within you. Just take a breath and relax and trust your inner wisdom, find a little quiet space, and it'll all come right from your heart. And you'll
Yeah.
start to sync up that vibration with the baby, like we know when we carried them right here, that rhythm will find its way and all is well. And,
Mhm.
and like Carl and I keep reassuring, medical is there for a beautiful intervention of emergency and saving lives or fixing a situation of immediate we have to get this set now, or there's going to be something very unfortunate.
Mhm.
All else is always here. And I know Carla and I have talked many times about community support, familial support, all of the preparatory that you can do. You can speak to each other and line up your support system. You can gather the information that you may think that you
Mhm.
want once you do have your baby or are prepping for it. And then it could change.
Yep.
And the people who love you and support you will be willing to support you in whatever that's going to look like. You may think
Mhm.
you're going to feel a certain way or want a certain thing, and then be like, you know what? No, I might want more quiet time than I want people time. I didn't think I would want that.
Yeah.
And know that there'll be a space of empowerment to always ask for what you need. And that will keep everything around you more settled and more flowy and more from a loving vibration instead of frenetic all the time of, oh no, oh no. So
Mhm.
speaking your wishes and feeling from the heart, and baby will lead you. There's so much communication from baby before they can say a word.
Yep.
From the
Yep.
minute of the prenatal stage all the way through, if you decide to, nurse, the communication there, and same thing with what your body might need and how it's reflected in the baby. There's that communication. It's a continual amount of communication that never ends in the
Mhm.
whole experience forever.
Mhm.
And that's our key with loving each other, is a solid communication in the space to do that.
Yes, yes, exactly. The space and listening, like because sometimes we're told to be afraid of this experience. And because of this whole, there's an emergency and everybody's rushed off to the hospital, and it's like, yeah, it's exciting, but it's not. The fear, we can let go of that fear if we're more in tune with, our inner knowing, like you're saying, right? And so what was I going to say? Oh, and then when we do that, when we move in that model, that medical model of fear, and when we don't need that, when it's not conducive to a good outcome, for anybody, what happens too is that there's a high level of intervention that actually messes up the process. And so, there's like disruption of like, oh, the baby's got to be on a feeding schedule, or you should do this, you should let them cry it out, blah, blah, blah. What we're doing is we're interrupting these natural processes that need to happen. So if we're too, like me, right? At first, like when I had my first baby, I'm thinking, well, I'm going to breastfeed him. Yeah, of course. I'm this, natural mom. But I also thought, and I didn't, I thought, well, I'm going to pump as well. And so I'm going to take turns with my husband, and he's going to feed on one time. I'm going to feed that. And I was totally missing the point of the whole breastfeeding process, or, this whole, what I experienced when he was born. I was like, actually, my world just totally slowed down. And it wasn't that I had to push through it and keep working and get a babysitter. No, no. It was because I was supposed to slow down with this little being and be with him. And all these things outside of myself that we think matter didn't. They didn't matter. And they shouldn't matter at that moment, because this is what you're doing right now. This is what you're doing right now with that other human being that came forth from your body. Like, it's not like, so to return to all of that is really to, I suppose, recognize and the beauty of that process, and not fight against it like there's something wrong, or you're suppressed because you're the mom breastfeeding, and all this, like, no, 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 no. This is a gift. It's a jewel. It's a process. It's a learning experience. It's an evolution. It's a connection with another soul. So when I had to experience that to be able to articulate it, or to even know it, like that, this, what I was thinking before, was really taking me away from the whole essence of that experience. Yeah.
And what
So,
just came to mind to add to that, Carla, is the more that we spend in nature,
mm,
either before we're even prenatal, but during our prenatal time,
yeah.
I feel that it keeps us in that flow of the inner voice of
Mhm.
where each step is going to take us, and baby.
Mm.
Baby picks up on every sensory, even though it's within in that growth period.
Yeah.
And a lot of kids, you'll find that once you take them for a walk in like one of those wearable slings or those neat
Mm.
things they have,
Mhm.
that they will just smell the air and zonk right out into a peaceful little nap if they wanted, or
Yes.
quietly observe and not be, fussy and agitated by their surroundings as opposed to not nature, and it'll
Yes.
be a clear experience for that continued communication that we so keep referring to. So
Mm.
yeah, nature is there. And another thing that just came to me is a lot of plants that you may see in a nature walk could be the ones that are calling to you for
Mhm.
that balanced communication through our plant world to
Yeah,
assist us.
for sure.
Just say a dandelion or something would be like, oh yeah, you know what? One of my friends gave me that tea. I've never opened it. Maybe
Mhm.
I'll go home and have a cup.
Yep.
Just for a quick example, or smelling a flower. Oh, you know what? Someone else gave me these little natural oils that are from these beautiful flowers, and they've got little labels on them. One of them is for calming, or one of them is for this. You know what? I've never opened those before. Maybe I'll give those a look or do a little
Yeah.
more reading on baby naps. So that whole rhythm of awareness with what nature is there to assist us with.
Mhm.
And then another thing that just came to me too is kind of circling around, but all relative. I recently read, after getting an innate sense that one day we'll be giving birth in ocean with the
Mm.
dolphins,
Mhm. Mhm.
that they emit a certain calming vibration for mama and baby during the birth process if they are in the waters nearby you in
Mhm.
ocean to give birth, where it's written, I haven't experienced it myself, that it can aid in assisting us to have a near painless birth.
Wow.
They pick up on our vibration and they emit a energetic signal to calms the baby, calms the mama,
Yeah.
and releases that pain response
Mhm.
and shifts it from something traumatic to the body to a natural rhythm. We sync up to their rhythm of the
Yeah.
dolphins during the
I
process is what
totally
happens.
want to pick up on that, Lisa, because this has a lot to do with like what a lot of women experience now, violent birth, feeling violated, feeling like you're out of control, fear-filled birth. I wrote a book or read a book called Childbirth Without Fear before I
Ooh.
had my firstborn, and actually that book was like 40 years old then, and it was recommended to me, and some of it all landed, but it didn't all stick at the time because I did end up in the hospital, blah blah blah, in that whole cascade. That's another story for another time. But in that, so I learned a lot about that part of not fearing the birthing process itself, but and then how it related to pain, right? And then so now further, like fast forward 24 years, and having done a lot of work in the whole like development, brain development, the whole fight or flight vagal nerve, and how our stress response or can affect the development of our children. And so, we have all of these things happen like generationally as far as anxiety and health issues and all this stuff go because of that initial birth experience or the gestation experience of the mother. And so that's sort of passed on through the nervous system too. So when you have a birth that is like, and I'm not saying without fear, like you might be like, wow, this hurts, or or like it could hurt, like it's not like we're not gonna have thoughts like that. Like, I mean, man, I've had three babies, and each time I thought I'm never doing that again. No, actually, no, I didn't, but it was close. Like, well, I'm not doing that tomorrow. I need a little rest up time. But it's an intense experience, but it's intensely powerful. And for us, again, that whole we like that word shift, shifting over to like, instead of like fear based, it's still powerful, but it's not moving us into like contraction, right? Like that's another thing I learned in that book. The contraction, you breathe into it. You don't fight against it. You breathe into it. So the rhythms of nature and the rhythms of listening to the rhythms of your body and moving with it and the flow and allowing, that's all, that's birth itself, all, as well as like the whole experience that leads to it. And then the baby's born calm, right? The
Mhm.
baby's born with a healthy, nervous system. They're not, they sleep better. They eat better. They have better digestion. Their overall health is better from the get-go. So when we're thinking about these things, and we could say, woo woo, you two are a couple nature nuts and you probably don't shave your armpits. Like, okay, well, whatever, but like, oh, call me hippie or call me like a universal, like flaky flake, whatever. Like, no, this is the stuff. This is literally all of us. Our human race, we are nature. We are nature. And when we're spending more time engaging with it and engaging with the process of nature and understanding them, then we have more harmony from the get-go. So this is one of the things I want mamas to know and be nourished in their communities and what we share, right, through our coaching and what we are, trickling down from grandma to mom to baby, and then like over like through generations and generations. So one thing I do want to say, and I want to hear some maybe your stories and stuff about this too, but when you said that it made you were said saying something about the mom, like knowing what to do and everybody's just there to support in whatever you want to do. And it makes me think about my friend's birthing experience and how they did have an ambulance come because the baby was coming super fast and it was a very, very fast birth. And she was literally like they didn't make it in there. Like they didn't, I don't think they did. Well, there's a couple stories I might be mixing up, but the point was that she wanted to have her baby standing up, and all the staff is like, no, you can't do that. We're not equipped for that. This is not something we do here. It's not policy. And she's like, I don't care. This is what's going to happen. So she was like standing up and they literally had to do what she said. And she was like the mama bear. Like, I am empowered in this birth process. I want to see more women feeling like that, right? In that is that the epitome of that experience. Go ahead, Lisa.
Oh, I'm listening and fully feel in the rhythm of what you're speaking to, definitely.
Mm,
I keep going back to the prenatal and the prenatal stages
yep.
of awareness, empowerment, support, then,
Mm,
so that when the day comes, even variables can be built in. If this, then that, if this, then that. And not like a script or a, stringent outline of any kind,
right.
just preparing for, in case I go a little otherworldly, which the birth process kind of is, and really don't have 2 seconds to reiterate this to you verbally, that we've either spoken of it or possibly jotted it down, whatever feels comfortable to the mom. You don't have
Mm-hmm.
to have things written out. But if you have one conversation with a trusted support person, then you're good to go.
Yep.
And you build in the contingencies. And especially if you're working with people like midwives or doulas, they're very, very aware that your support and your wishes make all the experience so much more in tune,
Mm,
so that everyone will be more in flow and a consistent rhythm. And especially, I've been doing a lot of investigating and attuning with the postnatal doula as well. And
mm,
that's where the 6 months is what they recommend, that you have aligned support.
yeah.
Sometimes you can get like a day, a week, 6 weeks if you're really lucky. They believe 6 months is really the window where they call it a sacred window,
Mm-hmm.
where the mama comes back into her pre-birth state, as well as baby adjusts to the new relationship that the two of them are creating, and maybe with its surroundings, its extended family, in all ways of its surroundings.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, if people could do that, in my heart, it already is, but I know we're getting there, that that would be the way that the community bonds together. And like you referred to a couple minutes ago, that when you have that community awareness and support, look at what we build and continue to build from there. It's like you said, the new old way for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I think the community piece is huge. The family, the tribe, that whole like passing on of wisdom and that sacred time. I think that we rush through all of that. We rush through everything nowadays. Like everything. We rush through our meals, we rush through our sleep, we rush through our lives thinking, "Oh, I can't wait till tomorrow. I can't wait till the weekend. I'm living my life in ways that I'm not really congruent with, so I don't really want to, I'm not enjoying it. I'm not savoring it." We see like illness as or discomfort as pathologized. We see we want to diagnose things, and we want to, there's all this stuff that's happening in our culture that is it's like it's taking away from the actual experience, and it's taking us away from gratitude and love and that sacredness. I love that word sacred. Like I think that there needs to be more celebration around those quiet moments rather than rushing through it to get back to work. Like I mean,
right.
and I know people might be listening saying that's really nice in a perfect world, but I got to get back to work. I have to pay my bills, blah blah blah. But I think it's really a time to be able to revisit all that and what matters and what doesn't. And I think collectively or on a broader scale, it's a really it's we must look at that, look at it um as far as like how are we living our lives and what are we rushing over to get to that next state or level, and that is how our children are actually literally being born, like rushed into the world, you know like they're being, and that's happening. They're being induced, and then there's medications to suppress whatever transition or discomforts coming along with that, and then there's fear and anxiety, and I don't want to dwell on that. What I want to do is say, hey, there's another way, and we know this way. We know this way. We were just kind of told something that might be easier and more convenient, but we're finding it's not. It's not more convenient, and it's really taking away from the whole beautiful experience, right? Like, and I'm not saying I didn't come from an experience that was super fun. Like it hurt. And and after that I had raw nipples, like I had all these things that like trying to nurse this baby, and this one only slept for literally like he would nurse for 45 minutes, take a 15-minute break and then nurse again. Like literally I
Mhm.
laid, and that forced me to just be in the moment, girl, because you're not doing anything else but feeding that baby. Like this, get your books, you know,
Here and presence, presence. If
presence.
nothing, if even if you haven't had the awareness to prepare prior, once baby comes, everything is present moment.
Yep.
They will force you to be in it. There will be nothing else.
And
And you will,
surrender to
the,
it. Yeah.
the beauty is the presence.
Mm,
Yeah, because you're connected to everything in present moment. It all stops and you're now,
mm-hmm,
right now, right
mm-hmm.
now, right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they are calmest when they feel in the right now.
Yeah.
Everything in their environment they feel. Our emotions, our state of being, our, like you said, whether we're with them in this or we're getting on with this, that, and the other, they will feel that
Mm,
um,
mm-hmm.
speed up of out of that presence. They will feel like something's trying to pull them out of it, and then they won't be settled.
Yeah.
And then
Yep.
that's not a good environment for all. And yeah,
Yep.
any stage that you pick it up is great. And I do have a recommendation what you were saying about if you do have to, if you haven't been able to shift your life so that mama doesn't have to get back to work,
Yep.
then your awareness of it, you could still be in formulating of that bridge to shifting into it. And yet you can still have presence in the day. It doesn't have to be during the day if you have to work and then come home. It could be, say, this right here, this 20 minutes, this 15 minutes, there will be quiet, there will
Mm,
be me and baby, whether we have to be in our own room or a different space of the house or whatever.
mm-hmm.
That presence there will recenter, and that will be just as impactful, though not, our optimum is continual presence, but
Right.
you can always be on a bridge and start where you are, have the awareness, and while you're walking that bridge, put into play some of these things of, or even taking a quiet walk around your house,
Yep.
like 2 times around, fresh
Yep.
air outside, just you
Yep.
and baby. And if that's what feels better to you than sitting still and just being with baby, it could be a process of the winding down from going like this all the time.
No kidding. And also I think that there were I just remember with my children, we had a lot of opportunity to do that, and we actually built those opportunities. Like we took them every time that they came. And I actually not everybody wants to do this or can maybe in the society we live in. But I always worked from home, and I did a couple of degrees with my kids at home, and I took them grocery shopping. They learned about life through being with me. And it makes me think of, like, those photos. And I don't know if anybody's actually seen this. Some of you maybe have seen this in real life, like been to, like, immersed in a culture where they carry their children on their backs, right? You talked about the baby sling. But also, like, they'll be out working in the field, and like their baby's on their back, like, and then when they potty train them, they don't sit them on the potty. Like, my friend actually had her, like, she just took the diaper off and let her just go out bareback in the yard, and that the child learned how to, went that their bodily cues and when to go, and where to go and all that stuff. So but what we look at like a photo of that culture, right? This baby on the back, and we think, isn't that quaint? Isn't that, lovely? But it's very primitive, and it's not modern, right? Like, it's not the modern thing that we would do and sort of look down upon, right? Like, as if, like, it's like, not civilized, not progressive. And I actually think that it's like, uh, it's almost like a not envy, but not envy. It's more like, oh yeah, that's what I want. That is like, instead of like complicating everything with daycares and schedules and all this stuff. How am I going to do this? I have to, my child has to be taken care of by somebody else because it's too distracting, or all that stuff. Incorporating them into my life was for me, that was like the best thing I could have done. And it literally happened naturally. Like, I didn't even think about this culture, that culture. I didn't pick any of that stuff. I mean, maybe I did as I was going, right? But I didn't think about this ahead of time or read a book telling me to do this. I just literally was like, that's actually what I want to do. I think it was from that initial surrendering with my oldest, right? It was just like, oh, I get this now. What am I doing? And I'm making it complicated when he's hungry. Roll over and feed him, like, or like, it doesn't have to be. I don't have to have a schedule. He poops, we change his diaper. He's hungry. I feed him. I don't go, oh, it's not time to eat yet. Who says it's not time to eat? What are you talking about? Like, and then I have so many examples of that, but I don't know. Do you have any examples of that, Lisa, like in your journey?
Yeah, because I,
Yeah.
I nursed my first one, and that's exactly how it would be on demand.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
don't mean demanding, meaning like he's demanding. I meant
Right.
on his rhythm. It's just a phrase of reference. But yeah, and it would be the same thing with sleep. Sometimes it'd be sporadic naps, and it took well over a year to get through the night. And like you said, that crying it out, it never
Mm,
felt right to me. Though
mm-mm.
I will admit I forced it by about 14 months, and it did happen naturally. But I don't know, having a newer awareness,
Yes.
possibly many of the other elements that I'm now aware to could have availed that to be, but
Mm-hmm.
who's to say that they're to sleep through the night at any stage and age? I mean, of course we do, but any other standard is like, maybe they just, can't settle their belly enough yet and need that little top off nurse every 2 hours or something for quite a while.
Yep.
Or maybe they want you to come in there because they like you to be there in their room with them.
Hmm.
And some people have what is it, co-sleeping?
That's what
And
we
there's all
did.
these,
We
yeah.
did. We surrendered to it because it was literally all I had to do was roll over and feed him. And actually, one time my husband told me, he said, "You were conked out. Nick was awake. You know, he wanted to feed, and he basically just boop put him right on me and did it himself." I wasn't even awake. And could you imagine the disruption, right? If I would have had him in a crib and I would have, I had to get up and then I'm thinking, oh, I can't bring him into bed with me because that's not the thing we're supposed to do. So I'm going to sit up in this rocking chair and like put it, that's disruptive of the sleep. That I didn't even wake up when that happened. Like, it was so just natural and it takes away like we think it's so complicated and it can be when we add all these things that we should do. And really, what do we intuitively know to do? It's like when I tried that crying to sleep thing or like self-soothing. It ripped my heart out. And I feel like I actually disrupted something in it's like he lost trust or something in me, or something happened that he was much more clingy as a baby than the girls were. And I noticed those residual. I'm not telling everybody, oh, you're gonna, like kids are scarred for life. We evolve, we heal, we acknowledge these things. We just tumble through life. But I know that there are some pivotal moments in these decisions that I made that were not mine. They were literally, I did make the decisions, but they weren't things that I intuitively knew to do. I knew that he needed me and I should have just done that. And I was actually like, I'm getting fed up with this. And just this idea I had of what should and shouldn't be. And then I went, my husband's like, just go for a walk. It's okay. It's okay. So I go for a walk, came back, he was still crying. And it was like, I'm like, I'm not doing this. Why am I doing this? So I think that, yeah, this intuition is trump. It's the trump card, right? It's the trump card. You can get advice, you can have suggestions, you can have friends and family try to help and guide that have been there before, yet you are the one that knows what to do and what your child needs. Yeah.
And I'm hearing that's where our lighthouse, our way shower, and our wisdom keeper. Each one
Mm,
is an individual, and whatever experience we had, we share it for someone who may want to hear it,
mm-hmm,
and then they will have their own innate response to it, or they at least take it in and wonder.
mm-hmm.
I feel like that's one of our biggest messages, Carla, is creating, going back to the wonder of when we were 3 years old and asked a million questions all day
Why,
long.
why? Okay, one thing I really want to wrap it up with that, but I'm gonna just say one more thing. I think we need to have like even 2 minutes banter about this. And we talk about healthy baby, the healthy child, healthy mama. And so that whole piece of like the preconception, yeah, you're getting ready to have a child, right? Or whatever, but literally taking care of yourself and how important that is, because then you're less likely to say, this kid's a burden. I don't want to do this. I need all these things because you're not tanked up. And so you don't have the capacity to allow and to be in the moment and to just let things, be and go and grow. It's much harder when your tank is empty. Do you have any thoughts about that, Lisa?
Well, again, I'm hearing the words empowerment and self communication, your own innate awareness, your own
Mm,
intuitive way, and possibly if you have any kind of, as a reference word, practices, whatever that means to you. Like, for example, going for a walk or making sure you get up in the morning and have 10 minutes of quiet time before you start the day. And
mm-hmm.
hopefully, you're making good choices for what your body communicates its needs to you.
Yep.
That's a whole nother talk that you've had with many others. And so that encompasses whatever your requirements are for that. Following that will keep mama strong and flourishing and her own sense of health and wellness prior to and during. the whole time. And
Mm,
that's what I consider self-care, is the full grouping of all those things. And
totally.
on your own individual basis. Yep, whatever is looks like for you.
Exactly. And I love that. And I think that there are so many, like, I don't know, I don't want to use the word hacks because that's like a terrible word in this beautiful flowing conversation, but there are ways to do that. Like, we're not talking about self-sacrifice when we say, surrendering to the process, being with your child, allowing for that child's like needs to, integrate with your own and like, and giving and, love. That doesn't mean that you burn yourself out. It doesn't mean that you ignore yourself, as a in favor of your child, like, or, so all that stuff, like, you don't ignore your needs. You listen more to the needs of your child and to yourself. And so it might be where you take a nap when baby takes a nap. You eat when baby eats. You don't just go feed them and like, oh, I forgot all about myself and whatever. You don't have to like whatever. If you missed a shower, well, big deal. Like that's not, I mean, if you find that your showers are your self-care, then you make sure you have them. But if you like missed a shower and you're like, whatever, I spent my day in the pajamas, but I don't really care. Well, that's not your thing. You're not neglecting yourself because you maybe missed that. You're choosing to do something else, that made you feel nourished and supported and well. And now you say, here, can you hold this, my kiddo, while I do that? And then when you don't have that help or support or whatever, you're not resenting your time with your child because you're full. And you're going to feel tired and you're going to feel, what I was sick like hell when I was pregnant. Like wow. Like, I'm like, I wanted some salt and vinegar chips and watermelon. That's what I wanted. And, like, that's how I felt. Like, but so it's not always comfortable all the time, but it just is. And so, taking those opportunities when they arise is and just rescheduling and making sure you're paying attention to yourself and asking when you need help, it makes all the difference, and then you don't have the resentment and you're actually like you're able to be there. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
got the whole experience is discovering a new rhythm.
Mm. Yeah. Nice. We're gonna leave with that. Discovering a new rhythm. We're going to leave with that. Thanks so much for being here, Lisa, and having this conversation with me. It was enlightening, beautiful, transformational, inspiring, as usual, as always. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.